Okay. It is recording. If you don't mind recording both of them, like both teams.
Okay.
So you might want to.
Wait, it's recording right now?
Back, maybe.
Oh my god.
It is recording. We will cut that part out.
Oh, you will? Okay, cool.
As long as we can just see everyone, we should be okay.
Wish I had a tripod.
You were in the.
I was in your presentation.
Okay. I'm so sorry. You can also sit if you want to. Be seen.
Okay.
Okay. For a very large audience, my name is Emily Nally.
Hi, Emily.
The judge today. I'm also an instructor for 2140. Today we are debating over the Senate Bill 25. The affirmative is debating for the pass of the bill, and the negative is debating against the pass of the bill. Which side is affirmative and which side is negative? Affirmative, okay. And if you guys will go through and just introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Marina.
Just
Introduce yourself. I'm Alo. I'm Haley.
And then the negative.
I'm Chloe.
I'm Kinsey.
I'm cute.
So just so you guys know, for each, so the debate will work as the affirmative will speak first. The first speaker will have 5 minutes. The negative first speaker will then go, and then we'll have a 2-minute crossfire between the two speakers. We will then have the second affirmative speaker go, and then the second negative speaker, and then those two will have crossfire for 2 minutes. And then we have the third speakers from the affirmative and the negative, and then we will have grand crossfire for 3 minutes, and then we'll have our closing speakers, which is the first speaker again on this side, and then your fourth speaker on this side. When you have 1 minute left, I will hold up this lovely one to let you know. You can also have your own timer to like kind of see. I will also have a timer on my phone going, and it will be out loud. That way you guys can hear it when it is over, and I will call time. You guys, we will start with 2 minutes of prep time, and then remember that you have 2 minutes of timeout that you can use throughout the debate. You just have to let me know, and it can only be in between speeches, and then you can use that as many times as you want until the 2 minutes is over. So if you like want to call timeout and you only use 20 seconds, you still have 1 minute and 40 seconds left. Make sense? Okay, I will start the 2-minute timer for prep time now, and then we will get started. You guys can talk to each other during this time.
Hey, Miss Emily. I'm not gonna lie, I can't get everyone in frame.
Just the speakers.
Just the speaker?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if the affirmative speaks, just at that table, and then the negative.
And just record them?
Yeah, and
Okay.
then for the crossfire, we will just try to get as much of it as you can.
Okay.
It is a very narrow room.
If I'm sitting, and I hope this ain't taking it the wrong way, is there any way I could, like, record while I'm back here? So is there, like, where you can, like, scoot over? I'm so sorry. I apologize.
You want to keep the timer since you're in charge of timing? Okay, I didn't know I got that.
Yeah, I used it.
Okay. Well then, you can hold the timer, and then when it's 1 minute left, just hold that up. You guys have 30 seconds left. is what it'll sound like too when you're speaking.
What?
So we will go ahead and start with the first speaker on the affirmative side. Whenever you are ready, I will start that timer. We'll have our timekeeper start the timer. Not bad.
I can stay seated, correct?
Yeah, since the podium is like weird, we're just gonna stay seated. Seated. Okay, are you ready?
Yes. Today we'll be discussing why the U.S. should pass the assault weapon ban. The definition of assault weapon is a military created firearm that is highly dangerous and is designed to maximize destruction and lethality. These weapons are designed to increase the number of rounds that can be fired and makes it easier for the user to maintain aim. They also have the ability to switch between semi-automatic and fully automatic. These guns are created to fire high-volume rounds in such a short amount of time. The bullets from these weapons are usually high velocity, which means they travel at very high speed and can cause significant tissue
Make
damage.
sure you speak out so that we can hear.
They have been used in the deadliest mass shooting, including the Las Vegas shooting, which killed 53 people and injured 500. The Orlando shooting, which took the lives of 48 people, and we can't forget Sandy Hook, which took the lives of 26 people, in which 20 of them were children, society's most vulnerable victims. According to ABC News, the U.S. has the highest rate of mass shooting in the entire world. Statistics reported by the Gun Violence show that in 2019, over 417 mass shootings. In 2020, over 611. In 2021, over 690 mass shootings. In 2022, over 647. We are now only in the 4th month of 2023, and there have been more mass shootings than days this year. It's not just the ones we see on the news. There's at least one mass shooting that take place daily. There needs to be a change. How many more people, including children, have to lose their lives for lawmakers to wake up? We can't keep having parents scared to drop off their children at school in the morning, and we can't be scared to go to the grocery store or even church anymore without the thought of another mass shooting taking place. Assault weapons pose too big of a threat to human life. Human life is the irreplaceable and the most precious and valuable asset we carry. The loss of even one life can have a profound impact on families, communities, and the world as a whole. It is our country's obligation to ensure and protect our lives at all costs. When in the wrong hands, these weapons can lead to mass destruction, as I listed before. The ban on assault weapons will not only decrease the mass shootings, it will improve our public safety, and it will make our civilians feel safer. Banning assault weapons will not invade our Second Amendment right. The Second Amendment gives us the right to keep and bear arms, but it does not give individuals the right to own any weapons they choose, just like how it's illegal to own any explosive bombs, machine guns, or high and deadly chemicals. The Second Amendment has always been subjected to reasonable regulations, and it's the job of the government to regulate such weapons for the best interest of public safety. For example, in 2008, the Supreme Court upheld a ban on the possession of firearms, such as machine guns, that are not commonly used for lawful purposes in the case District of Columbia versus Heller. Assault weapons are not necessary for self-defense or hunting and have no place in civilian life. This ban will only apply to specific types of firearm that is designed to cause mass destruction. In 1994, President Clinton signed a 10-year assault weapon ban, and during those years, the target of the ban, which was mass shooting, specifically dropped tremendously. In the years after the assault weapon, the ban went into effect, the number of deaths from the mass shooting fell, and the increase in the annual number of incidents slowed down. As we can see, the background checks that we have in place aren't enough. Just a couple weeks ago in Nashville, a shooting took place at a school and took the lives of 3 children and 3 adults. The shooter, who was already under care for emotional disorder, was able to legally purchase 7 firearms, 3 of which he used during the shooting. Banning these weapons will reduce the availability to the general public, making it more difficult for individuals to obtain them illegally. But by doing absolutely nothing, we are, in a sense, helping these individuals.
And then we'll have the first speaker go. Are you ready?
Hi, I'm Kinsey, and today I'll be negating the resolution, the S.25 assault weapons ban of 2023. The S.25 assault weapons ban was made to, and I quote, regulate assault weapons to ensure that the right to keep and bear arms is not unlimited and for other purposes. Today, our team will prove how the ban is harmful to our nation. The assault weapons ban of 2023 will not stop the killings of our citizens, especially those in marginalized groups. From the bill, Section 3, Paragraph 1 states, "It shall be unlawful for a person to import, sell, manufacture, transfer, or possess in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce a semi-automatic assault weapon." Further down, it states, Paragraph 1 shall not apply to the importation for, manufacture for, sale to, transfer to, or possession by the United States or a department or agency of the United States or a state or department, agency, or political subdivision of a state, by sale to, transfer to, possession by a qualified law enforcement officer employed by the United States or a department or agency of the United States, or a state or a department, agency, or political subdivision of a state for purposes of law enforcement, whether on or off duty. The portion of the bill states that this ban does not apply to law enforcement. According to Statista, as of March 27, 2023, police in the United States have shot 9 unarmed people to death in 2023. The most common weapon for a victim of a fatal police shooting to be carrying is a gun. In 2023, 143 people carrying a gun were shot and killed by U.S. police. That being said, this ban doesn't do anything to improve this statistic. The bill says that it does not apply to law enforcement, therefore the deaths by police rate will continue to go up and the citizens of the U.S. will continue to be let down. Unity is something we all want here in America, and however, focusing on topics like the assault weapons ban will not actually improve the state our country is in. According to trace.org, the total number of guns produced for the U.S. market as of 2021 was 465 million. This statistic tells us that we have more guns in America than we do people. According to the United States Census Bureau, in the U.S. population consists of about 334,645,203 people. The ban is calling for the stopping of the importation, selling, transferring, possession, and production of assault weapons. Even if the importation, selling, transferring, possession, and production was to completely stop, we would still have about 465 million guns in circulation, not including the ones that law enforcement are given each year. This gives a perfect opportunity for black market sales to go up and for crime rates to increase like we have never seen before. In America, if you want to get something, you are able to get it, whether it's drugs, guns, abortions. If there's a will, there is a way. And why are we wasting our time with a ban that only bans guns and creates division, but offers no other more proactive solutions?
We will now have the 2-minute crossfire between the two first speakers.
You want us to stand up?
Yeah, maybe just like in the middle, that way you guys can like see each other. Because I feel like it'd be weird to debate crossfire without seeing each other. Yeah. They're using timeout. You guys can also use this time to prepare food. And it's free for you guys. And then you guys can get your like computers too if you want to set them up on the edge of my table. That is totally fine with me. That way you have your materials. Sorry, this room is not set up the best.
You're gonna say it.
Yeah. She's giving you room. Okay. You guys ready? And go. Affirmative speaks first.
So, how would you respond that the argument of banning assault weapons could save lives? And do you believe that military weapons belong on civilians' hands instead of the battlefield?
Are you asking like my opinion or?
The statement when you said that it would not stop the killing of civilians.
It's not going to stop shootings because, like I said, in America, if there's a will, there's a way. So even though, for example, like abortions, even though they're banning it in Texas, you can still go to another state and get an abortion. So I know that there's more guns than people in America. So if
Okay. I just want to say that yes, it will not stop the shootings, but it will make the shootings less deadly. Victims will have more of a survival rate. They'll have more of a chance to escape, more of a chance to fight back.
if we ban assault weapons,
Correct.
is there a statistic that you have that proves that?
Yes, I do. Is I stated it. It says.
And also, are you talking about mass shootings or just shootings in general?
Shootings in general. That's what it says. No, it's fine.
To our first speakers. And now we will go to our second speaker on the affirmative side.
As previously mentioned, we are here today to discuss the assault weapons ban and why we believe they should pass the bill. My opponent brought up a few interesting points that I'd like to further discuss. The first one is the Second Amendment. According to the United States Constitution, the Second Amendment states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. In simpler terms, this amendment gives citizens the right to own and carry a gun for lawful purposes. The term lawful is defined as conforming to, permitted by, or recognized by law or rules. For example, it is an offense to carry a weapon in public without lawful authority. The opposing side would argue that the assault weapons ban is taking away our Second Amendment rights. However, the ban is primarily focused on restricting semi-automatic weapons from being obtained and used in public areas in instances of mass shootings. The ban was not focused on taking this right away, but limiting the number of ways in which a person can endanger thousands of lives in the United States. The opposing side also mentioned the bill is restricting our use of weapons. However, according to Congress.gov, this bill makes it a crime to knowingly import, sell, manufacture, transfer, or possess a semi-automatic assault weapon or large-capacity ammunition feeding device. They also add the prohibition does not apply to a firearm that is manually operated by bolt, pump, lever, or slide action except for certain shotguns, permanently inoperable, antique, only capable of firing rimfire ammunition, or a rifle or shotgun specifically identified by make and model. This still leaves many different types of guns open to purchase and carried legally in the United States. The bill is simply restricting assault weapons that take more lives than a normal handgun would. With regards to the black market, the Firearm Industry Trade Association states, under current federal law, also known as the Brady Act, federally licensed firearms retailers must run a background check through the Federal Bureau of Investigations, FBI, also called the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. The system on the buyer before transferring that firearm, new or used to that individual. The retailer must conduct the background check regardless of whether the transfer takes place, whether it is a father passing a shotgun down to his son, a grandfather giving his granddaughter a Christmas gift of a first rifle, two private collectors transferring a rare and valuable firearm from one collection to another, or simply loaning a friend a rifle for a hunting trip. Now I want to discuss how other countries and states have effectively incorporated gun laws without restricting human rights. CBS News posted this morning on April 20th of 2023, Washington State passed a bill that bans over 60 different types of assault weapons, which also provides the same guidelines as this bill. According to International Affairs, Swiss federal gun laws entitle citizens to acquire, own, and carry most types of weapons. But they do bar certain types of weapons and require a person to obtain a permit to acquire a gun from a dealer, although not from a private party. A gun owner must have the permit to carry a gun in public for purposes other than hunting or military training. He or she must demonstrate a need for this permit, which can include self-defense. The law also regulates the manufacture, commercial sale, import, export, and transportation of weapons. However, violators of this law are subject to fines and imprisonment. The law also governs the manufacture, importation, exportations of weapons, imposes record-keeping requirements on gun dealers, and the penalties or violations can be 5 years in prison and a fine of approximately $69,000. I will also want to take into account gun buyback programs and how they are effectively used to help stop gun violence. According to gunxgun.org, gun buybacks are events where individuals can turn in firearms to law enforcement, usually with no question asked, and receive some kind of compensation in return. The overall goal of gun buyback programs is to reduce the number of gun deaths and injuries in this community. To wrap up, this plan of action is by no means the only way to end mass shootings in the United States. However, by not passing this bill, we are subjecting ourselves to more pain and loss for generations to come. Thank you.
And now we'll go to our second speaker on the negative side. Okay, are you ready? And go.
The bill, yes, wants to regulate instead of eliminate, but this is problematic in that it will not stop gun violence from happening, only pushing violent individuals to either find a gun somewhere else or use another method to commit violent crimes. Did you know that an estimated 287,400 prisoners had possessed a firearm during their offense? Among these, more than half, or 56%, had either stolen it, found it at the scene of the crime, or obtained it off the street or from an underground market. Not only that, but the bill only bans a select amount of handguns, which is problematic because that is the most used firearm in committing homicides. If the government is really concerned about the safety of its citizens, why are they only banning assault weapons, which only make up a small percentage of overall gun violence? This bill will do nothing but drive individuals to use other methods to carry out their plans. There's even a section of the bill that outlines exempted firearms. Some of these include Remington models 74, 81, and 740, and many other makes and models. Another point I'd like to bring up is the killing of minorities via firearm. This is a huge issue in America right now, especially when looked at through the lens of police shootings. According to the assault weapons ban of 2023, it does not apply to law enforcement officers. This is alarming because according to Yale News, there were 5,367 fatal police shootings during that 5-year period, according to the Post database. In the case of armed victims, Native Americans were killed by police at a rate 3 times that of white people, 77 total killed. Black people were killed at 2.6 times the rate of white people, and that is 1,265 total killed. And Hispanics were killed at nearly 1.3 times the rate of white people. Among unarmed victims, Black people were killed at 3 times the rate, Hispanics at 1.45 times the rate of white people. Now, with BIPOC fatalities staying stagnant while white fatalities drop, this ban will only cause more harm to minorities.
And now we will do a crossfire between the second two speakers. just a reminder, you guys still have timeout that you can use, and you guys still have about 51 seconds if you would like to use it.
We look at each other. Before we were told to look at the audience, I was just wanting to check.
Both in a sense, because you're speaking kind of to each other, but also to us. And reminder that affirmative starts first, and go.
So say the bill does not pass and school shootings are still a problem in the United States. What is your plan of action to eliminate the number of deaths that will occur?
Well, I'm saying that I don't have a solution, and this bill doesn't have a solution either. All they're doing is banning assault weapons, which doesn't ban all guns, and as my partner said, that still leaves more deaths.
She's big.
And so if this ban is passed, then there's still going to be death, just in different ways. I would like to ask you a few questions. So you mentioned that we mentioned the Second Amendment. Can you bring up exactly where we mentioned the Second Amendment?
I believe it was when you were regarding the ban and it was limiting our rights for the Second Amendment, even though we still have those rights.
I don't believe you mentioned that. But can you fairly compare any nation to the United States? Because you were comparing us to other countries. Can you compare us in any other way? Because we have one of the most the largest populations. And so I guess comparing us to other countries, do you think that's fair?
I would say yes and no, because granted, yes, we are the biggest population to hold. However, other countries, unlike us, are trying new things. We are trying to stop violence. We are trying to stop murder. So I think comparing them is kind of a hard thing to say, but also not, because we aren't willing to try new things. So therefore, if we don't try, then how will we ever know? So that's why I brought up the youth.
That is fine. And now we will move on to the third speaker for the affirmative side. And are you ready? And go.
In closing to this debate, assault weapons have been responsible for some of the deadliest mass shootings in the United States, causing widespread harm and fatalities. I'm here to conclude and yet inform you that banning these assault weapons could significantly reduce the number of deaths and injuries from such events. Lack of regulation on assault weapon sales and ownership possess a threat to national security, and the enforcement of background checks and other measures to prevent the sale of firearms would be effective if assault weapons were banned. This final conclusion will draw upon sources such as Guilford's Law Center and ABC News, which argues that assault weapons are designed for rapid and efficient killing, which is unnecessary and unethical in the context of hunting. The International Committee of the Red Cross emphasizes that the availability of arms can give rise to increased violence, which can become a root cause of armed conflict. With small arms and light weapons constituting a major obstacle to the protection of civilians during armed conflict, the educational fund to stop gun violence highlights the need for universal background checks to keep guns out of the hands of people who should not have them, but argues that banning assault weapons would make these measures effective and create a safer society. That being said, we should implement having the availability of assault weapons has contributed to the rise in mass shootings in the United States, and banning them could reduce the number of deaths and injuries from such events. B. Enforcement of background checks and other measures to prevent the sales of firearms to individuals who pose a danger to themselves or others would be more effective if assault weapons are banned. Banning assault weapons wouldn't make it harder for individuals to obtain them, but also serve as a deterrent to those considering committing acts of violence or terrorism. Knowing that assault weapons are banned would make it more difficult for individuals to carry out attacks with maximum lethality. This deterrence effect has been observed in different countries that have implemented stricter gun laws and bans, resulting in lower rates of gun violence. In addition to mass shootings, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime has proclaimed that it is important to address the issue of illegal gun trafficking through in and out of the black market, which can contribute to the availability of firearms in communities where they are not legally obtained. It can facilitate the transfer of weapons to individuals who would not otherwise be able to obtain them. Illegal gun trafficking involves the movement of firearms from one location to another, often across state or international borders without proper documentation or authorization. The impact of illegal gun trafficking can be significant as it contributes to the availability of firearms to individuals who are not legally allowed to own them. This can include individuals with criminal records, mental issues, or underage people. Straining stricter regulations on gun dealers is one way to help reduce violence by reducing the number of firearms that end up on the black market. This can include more frequent inspection of dealerships to ensure compliance with existing laws and regulation, as well as increased inspections of dealerships to ensure penalties for dealers who are found to be in violation of these laws. Furthermore, sources of the Office of Justice Program states that addressing the issue of illegal gun trafficking may require increased law enforcement to investigate and prosecute individuals who are involved in these activities. This could include increased resources for law enforcement agencies in cooperation with international partners to disrupt the flow of illegal guns across borders. The lack of regulation on assault weapons, sales and ownerships possess a grave national security. The absence of proper monitoring and tracking mechanisms mean that they can easily fall into the wrong hands and can be used for dangerous purposes. To wrap things up, one of the primary drivers of the black market for guns is the availability of firearms in areas where they are not legally obtained. Addressing the issues of illegal gun trafficking in the black market will require a multi-pronged approach that includes efforts to reduce the supplies of guns in these markets, as well as addressing the underlying social and economic factors that can contribute to the demand for firearms. At the same time, efforts to reduce demand for firearms must also address the roots of gun violence, such as poverty, inequality, and social marginalization. While efforts to reduce the supply of guns in the black market are important, it is equally important to address the underlying social and economic factors that contribute to demand for firearms by taking a comprehensive approach that addresses both supply and demand.
We are now going to do Grand Crossfire, which is going to be a little weird because you guys can't see each other, but just listen for each other. Just a reminder that everyone can speak during this. It is open to all speakers. Would anyone like to use timeouts before we start? Can we use the remaining 59 seconds? Yes. Okay.
Did you say that it doesn't have so first crossfire?
They do.
Oh, okay. But like as soon as
But you can all, like you can all speak.
as soon as I say it, like how long do we have to wait?
They just speak first. Well, you have to be outside. Would you like to use some timeout time? Yes. Okay. I will start. You guys can use this time as well. No, you have 45 seconds remaining if you'd like to use it. Okay. I'm going to start the timer for the Grand Crossfire. Again, remember, affirmative speaks first. And go.
Throughout your argument, you guys brought up police shootings multiple times. And
Make sure you speak, just since we're far.
you guys brought up police shootings, but there are several ways in which assault weapon ban can potentially help reduce the number of police shootings, such as encouraging de-escalations. Without access to assault weapons, police officers may be more likely to rely on de-escalation tactics, such as negotiation and non-lethal force options in high-risk situations. What's your response to that?
That is true. That is true, but is there any part of the bill, or will they have to make a new bill? And how long will this take to implement this stuff? To implement these programs of de-escalation? And what will happen during that time where they have to develop that and such?
Can you elaborate? I can't see.
Well, you're saying that there's different ways that we can prevent police shootings, and you're saying de-escalation is one of those ways. For the time that they have to develop these programs and roll it out across the nation, these police shootings aren't going to change, and it's just going to take time. And there's nothing in the bill that brings up anything about de-escalation and such. I would also like to bring up where you mentioned several times mass shootings and how this bill will help that, but according to the National Institute of Justice, most individuals who engage in mass shootings use handguns, or 77.2%, and 25.1% use assault rifles in the commission of their crimes. And as we know, this bill does not cover all handguns. And I would also like to ask you a question. Can you repeat what the punishment for not complying to this bill is? Is it prison?
As of now, there is no, obviously since the bill has not yet passed, whether it does or not, I'm assuming that there will be a, I guess, punishment, if you will, for if people do obtain these weapons that are going to be illegal at this point. Right now, I am not aware of this punishment, but I'm assuming that if the bill does pass, then that people will consider what that would be. So, for instance, a fine, prison, any of those things of a sort, and also with the buyback program, submitting those guns.
Did I miss y'all's third speaker?
Yes.
I am so sorry. I realized that after I started. We're gonna go ahead and do your third speaker. Would you guys like a different chance at Grand Crossfire or no? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, I'm so sorry. You guys should have told me. I completely blanked on that. That is my fault. I was sitting here looking at this and I'm like, why do I have 2 negative speakers left? You guys should have interrupted me. I'm so sorry. I'm not gonna grade any of that. We're gonna just throw it out anyways. We're gonna throw out that practice. I'm so sorry. And this time I might have you guys actually stand up so you can see each other. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start that timer for your third speaker. Is it?
What about the points that we already brought up? Would those
You can
be
just count
counted?
up again.
Okay.
And yeah, we're gonna do that. I'm so sorry, guys. That is my bad. You should have interrupted.
I wasn't
I am so sorry. Okay, are you ready?
Ready?
Yes. Okay. And go.
Okay. So we have discussed, we have defined assault weapons on the affirmative side. We have talked about mass shootings with the occurrence of the Sandy Hooks. We have also mentioned the 1994 ban. We have also mentioned that the portion of the bill that directly states that it does not apply to law enforcement. assault weapons is unlikely to stop mass shootings as criminals would use other equally deadly firearms. According to an article created by Chicago Tribune, banning assault weapons is unlikely to stop mass shootings as criminals would use, once again, other equally deadly firearms. This means that the ban isn't going to stop mass shootings from occurring, and criminals will just find another way to commit crimes, such as using weapons that are legal. Criminals are the real threat to society, not assault weapons. Passing the assault weapons ban in 2023 won't prevent the killing of our nation's citizens. It will increase it. All weapons cause assault, no matter how many hands you need to hold it or how many rounds it can hold. Subpoint B is police violence against marginalized groups. Supporting evidence from the Police Violence Report organization states, police disproportionately kill black citizens year after year. The statistics are that in the U.S. population of African Americans, 12% were killed by police brutality. In 2022, 26% of blacks were killed by police brutality. In 2021, 27% of blacks were killed by police brutality once again. And in 2020, 25% of blacks were killed. This leads me to say 55% of police killings in 2022 were traffic stops, mental health crises, or situations there was not reportedly threatening with a gun. These statistics are alarming, showing that marginalized groups are constantly getting killed by police officers, which we know possess handguns. 97% of people killed by police in 2022 were killed by police shootings. A study conducted by the Treatment Advocacy Center found that people with untreated mental illnesses are 16 times more likely to be killed during a police encounter. According to an article by the Washington Post, it states local police departments are not required to report these incidents to the federal government. This evidence prompts the question, what are other weapons of assault? Handguns. According to history.com, the Black Panthers were founded in the wake of the assassination of black nationalist Malcolm X, and after police in San Francisco shot and killed an unarmed black teen named Matthew Johnson. The Black Panthers were part of the larger Black Power movement, which emphasized black pride, community control, and unification for civil rights. According to a history article from history.com titled "The NRA Supported Gun Control When Black Panthers Had Weapons," throughout the late 1960s, the militant black nationalist group used their understanding of the finer details of California's gun laws to underscore their political statements about the subjugation of African Americans. In 1967, 30 members of the Black Panthers protested on the steps of the California State House, armed with .357 Magnums, 12 gauge shotguns, and 45-point caliber pistols, and announced, the time has come for black people to arm themselves. If the assault weapons ban of 2023 is passed, marginalized groups will suffer, as we are not able to defend ourselves from the law enforcement that's here to protect us. I propose that instead of banning assault rifles, we take a more personal and proactive approach. This, of course, is the Extreme Risk Protection Orders, or ERPOs. According to the Center for American Progress, in quotation, an Extreme Risk Protection Order, ERPO, is a civil remedy that allows law enforcement or family members to petition a court to temporarily remove firearms from a person who poses a risk of harm to self or others. Only 19 states have ERPOs, even though, according to the Center for American Progress, preliminary data on ERPO laws in Connecticut suggests that.
And is everyone okay with redoing Grand Crossfire?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. Again, I apologize profusely. If you guys want to stand up and like come forward, that way you guys can see each other. I feel like that will also help you guys see each other work better.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay,
Sorry.
so 35 seconds. And go. You guys can also use this.
Just, yeah.
Are you guys ready? You still have 12 seconds if you choose to use it.
Awesome.
And go.
You go first, right? Okay, so in your argument, you brought up police shootings and police brutality and several crimes, but there are several ways in which a assault weapon ban could potentially help reduce the number of police shootings, such as encouraging de-escalation. Without access to assault weapons, police officers may more likely be relying on de-escalation tactics such as a negotiation and non-lethal force of options. The argument that the assault weapon is based on race, you guys kept bringing up race. This isn't a fight for race, this isn't a fight for police brutality, this is a fight for humanity.
Well, like I said before, it's going to take some time to put these into effect, and I believe there is already de-escalation programs in effect, but it seems that these aren't always trustworthy, and that some police officers just, in the heat of the moment, will not think about those de-escalation tactics. And as I said before, you mentioned mass shootings as a huge problem, and the individuals who engage in mass shooting, most individuals who engage in mass shootings use handguns, 77.2%, according to the National Institute of Justice. And as we know, handguns aren't all banned under this bill. And I would also, again, like to ask you, what's the punishment for not applying or complying to this bill? I know you said that there isn't a set punishment already, but if, as you say, one punishment can be prison. According to the National Institute of Justice, sending an individual convicted of a crime to prison isn't a very effective way to deter crime. So when they get out, they might go to the black market again and commit a crime again.
You also mentioned that, and correct me if this is the wrong number, 287,400 prisoners had possessed a firearm after they were released from prison. How do you think, let me rephrase that. So, these prisoners that have just gotten out and have possessed a firearm from the black market, how do you think that will change regardless if this bill passes or not?
Well, I would like to say I said an estimated 287,400 prisoners had possessed a firearm during their offense, not after. And so I would say that's irrelevant.
I would like to ask, what other plans do you propose to stop mass shootings in the United States? Because you guys mentioned, one of you mentioned there are other ones. Can we respond? Can we respond? Sadly, no.
You're going to address it in your fourth speech.
Okay.
So if you guys would like to take a seat again, that is the end of Grand Crossfire, and we're going to move on to the fourth and final speakers. Again, apologize for my overlooking Grand Crossfire.
We're back to where we were, so.
Yes.
And go.
So a 2019 study published in the Journal of Public Health found that states with assault weapon bans had lower incidence of mass shootings compared to states without such bans. The study analyzed data from 1994 to 2017 and found that states with assault weapon ban had 70% lower incidence of mass shootings compared to states without such bans. A 2018 study published in the Journal of Urban found that in 1994, federal assault weapon ban was associated with a 9.6 reduction in the number of gun massacres. The studies do suggest that assault weapons can have a significant impact on reducing the incidence of mass shootings. We know it won't completely get rid of mass shootings, but we reduce the chances of these shootings to not be as deadly as they have been in the past. Assault weapons can fire up to 45 rounds per minute, making them much more lethal than any other type of firearm. The velocity of bullets fired from assault weapons is significantly higher than that of other firearms, which can cause more severe injuries and damage to the body. People aren't just getting injured, they're dying when these types of guns are used. A ban on assault weapons will reduce the lethality of mass shootings, giving victims a better chance to fight back or flee the scene. The real question here to ask yourself is what's more important, human life or the Constitution? While the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees the right to bear arms, the fundamental human right to life is even more important. We must recognize that the Constitution is a product of its time, and the time when the United States was a new and vulnerable nation. Today, the United States is a much more stronger and more stable nation, and the need for citizens to bear arms for self-defense has diminished. The weapons available in the 18th century were vastly different from those available today. The founding fathers could not foresee the development of semi-automatic and automatic weapons, which have greatly increased the potential for harm in all society. The Second Amendment self-recognizes that the right to bear arms is not absolute. The amendment refers to the need for a well-regulated militia, which suggests that the right to bear arms can and should be subject to reasonable regulations to ensure public safety. We need to stop using the Second Amendment as an excuse not to pass this ban. The context in which the Second Amendment was written was vastly different from today. The founding fathers were primarily concerned with protecting citizens from tyrannical government. A call to action to ban assault weapons is necessary to addressing the ongoing epidemic of gun violence in our society. It is a critical step that must be taken to protect innocent lives and enhance our public safety.
And now we'll go to our final speaker on the negative side. If you have to use your 12 seconds of timeout, or you
Okay. Sorry. No, I don't need it.
and go.
At the end of the day, it's safe to say that the majority of Americans want what's best for their country, and I go as far to say that all of us in this room can agree with that statement. We're the United States, land of the free, home of the brave, and what makes us different from other countries is the amount of liberty we have, not the questionable definition of the right to bear arms in the Second Amendment. The freedom to choose what's right, what's best for ourselves and for each other as a whole. Although this bill is being seen by eyes of members of Congress and senators, we, the people, are not politicians, and this bill does not clearly state the impacts and consequences it will have on the citizens who will abide if it is passed. As my colleagues have mentioned, S.25's intentions are to stop the production, importation, sale, transfer, and possession of assault weapons. When it comes to the welfare of our nation, when it comes to public safety, controlling possession of military-grade weapons won't help us, as we have more firearms than our national population, according to World Population Review. As already proven, these firearms aren't even the main cause of one of the most unacceptable crimes out there. If we want our home, being the US of A, to be a safer place, we need to attack what matters more, protecting the people and all the people at that, not just specific groups in our nation. This has been said time and time again. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. When used properly, guns are not solely a weapon, but a tool. Regulating assault weapons won't stop mass shootings, and getting rid of guns altogether won't stop murder and any of its various forms. This isn't what the US government should be focusing on if it wants the end goal of national safety and security. Contrarians may argue to implement change, and there's a way to do that. If we shift from taking away rights as punishment to providing more rights as conservation, if we laser our focus on how our citizens, especially those in marginalized communities who are partially disadvantaged and who helped build this country, can better defend themselves, how law enforcement can better protect the people and how gun owners, past, present, and future, can understand and identify when, where, and how to use their firearms, the idea of making our nation a safer place can become reality. Judge, today we ask you to put yourself in our shoes, to imagine our statistics as people with individual lives and stories, and to vote against the legalization of this bill. Thank you.
You guys all did very, very good. How do you feel now?
Great.
Great.
Now that it's done.
It's over with now.
Yeah.
You can breathe again. Okay, well, let me look at my notes and decide the winner of this debate.
Does this mean I can stop recording now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.